what does inflation look like? If you own real estate, what that means is that your rents are going to go up. So if you lock in long-term debt right now, think about this, guys. Is they come in and they start taxing you because you own more property, as long as they're taxing all the other landlords out here, that's okay. If they come in and they start charging more for building material and all the other landlords have to do that, that's okay. Because all that does is force all you guys to push your price up. I remember in 2016 in Cincinnati, they pushed our rents up 16% in 1 year because they passed some levy. And so all the landlords, I was pissed because my controller called and said, hey, you're short $36,000 on your taxes. And I was like, why haven't you, we've escrowed them. No, the taxes went up. I said, the values didn't go up. It's not a year where they reassess. And it wasn't the reassessment, it was the millage that went up. So I was mad for a few minutes, and then I quickly figured out that, hey, all the other landlords got the same thing. So then in the years to come, rents rose drastically. And then what happened was, then the government came out and said, they started, no, seriously, guys, in Cincinnati, they started saying, you greedy landlords, you're charging more money. And we're like, we're charging more money because you charge us more taxes, because the water and sewage went up, because insurance went up, because everything went up. So what do you want us to do? But we're greedy when we do it, but when they do it, they're just collecting taxes. That's backwards. And that's when you know you're getting into one of them states that's a little bit more too liberal. But Cincinnati's not quite there yet. We don't have rent controls, which is great. But inflation, as materials cost more, as it costs more to build, it's called equilibrium. And you got these real estate cycles. And up here at the top is the cost to build. And right here, you want to be buying well below rebuild cost. If you're buying well below rebuild cost, then you're probably in good shape. If you're the one that's building up here and you're building because you're counting on cash flow, you might get hurt. A lot of the guys that are building up here, they're looking for tax write-offs. That's why they're building. They got so much money coming in. They don't really care if the property makes money. They're looking for massive, you can cost segregate your whole property, and you can create massive write-offs. So different strategies for different people. You know, when I was younger in my career, I would think, what are they doing? Do they not know what they're doing? Yeah, Nate, sure. They got hundreds of millions of dollars in property because they don't know what they're doing. No, they know exactly what they're doing. They're strategizing about it, and they're thinking long term. How do you do a lease to own? What percent do you ask for? I'm sorry, a lease option, lease to own option. I mean, that's all negotiable, man. There is no rules on that. That's all. You create a win-win. You figure out what a win is for you, what a win is for the seller. But I wouldn't, in this climate, I would not do a lease option with somebody, man. It'd be very few circumstances I would do that in, because what you're doing is you're giving a property to somebody, maybe just worth 160,000. It might be worth $200,000 in 5 years, and you're selling it to them for 160 and holding the paper. I would rather go back to the bank, refinance it. And unless you're saying, man, hey man, I don't want to deal with this property. It's not rented. I don't have the money to put into it. But for the most part, I would be a person trying to do lease option right now, get somebody to hold that paper for me while it goes up and back. I'm going to talk to you guys, man. This course that we're working on, by the time you guys get done with this course, you could probably be a hedge fund manager. That's how much you're going to know. Now, whether you can execute all that or whether you care to, that's what we want to give you. So there's a short-term debt cycle, and then there's long-term debt cycles. And the way that short-term and long-term debt cycles work is that short-term debt cycles are about 6 to 9 years. And what happens is the economy goes up and the economy comes down. Well, when the economy starts to come down, you got these long-term debt cycles. And what they do is they will drop the interest rate to spur the economy and push the economy back up. That's one of the things that the feds have used for years to stimulate the economy. The problem is when you get to the end of a long-term debt cycle, the last time we were at the end of a long-term debt cycle was in 1929. Anybody remember what happened then? Interest rates are as low as they can go. You can't drop interest rates anymore to stimulate the economy. Then what happens? The feds are out of bullets. They can't use that tool. So what they have to do then is they create inflation. And so as they create inflation, you guys think about it. If you're getting a 80% loan, and let's say inflation is 10%, or appreciation in your area is 10%, you're getting a 5x. The bank's putting up 80% of the money, you're putting up 20. So you're getting a 20, 40, 60, 80, you're getting a 5x on whatever appreciation is. So if appreciation is 10%, and you're getting 50% appreciation on your money. In other words, if you put 20% down, 50% of that is 10,000. 10% appreciation on 100 grand is $10,000. So, and we have areas that we are finding all over the country that you're getting 13 and 14%, including here in Cincinnati, including in Ohio, Northern Kentucky, Florida, Tennessee. 14%. Take 14 and times that by 5. That's almost 60% right there. Now, we know that's not sustainable. Or actually, that's almost 70%. We know that's not sustainable and that's not going to continue to happen. But for the short term, why is it happening? It's happening because all the goods and services and products are going through the roof because you don't have as many people that want to work anymore. You have people, especially millennials, the younger people, found different ways to make money. They're like, man, I'm not going to work with my hands. I can just sit here and I can do this on my computer, work from home, and make way more money. So what that causes is a shortage of goods because we're not producing goods. So the goods that we do have are going up drastically. Resin, drywall mud, lumber. Lumber is $60 a sheet. It used to be $20 a sheet 2 years ago. Lumber costs were $9 a square foot to build. Now it's $26 a square foot to build here in our area. And that was 4 months ago. It's maybe 30 by now. You don't get many opportunities like this in your lifetime, guys, where values shoot up that rapidly, that quick. So I would say everybody thinks there's going to be a bust. And I would say there's always pullbacks. But here's what I'll tell you. As long as you're buying around where all the basic jobs are and you understand what basic jobs are, you're going to be fine because there's going to be plenty of people there that need to rent. Maybe they do lose their properties, but they're still going to need somewhere to stay. Maybe they did get over leveraged at some point. Maybe they did not get into a fixed 30-year loan. So why these mortgages are cheap? Get in, man. Lock it in at 3%, 4%. Lock in low long-term debt because you will not see this long-term. You will not see these rates this low forever. And because what will happen is, if you go back and you look at the late 70s and early 80s, we had interest rates go up to 18%. Why? Because we had all of minimum wage got pushed. The government came in and pushed minimum wage like they're talking about doing now. Well, when they did that, they caused a lot of inflation. So things started shooting and skyrocketing up. How does the government offset that? They offset that by raising interest rates and slowing the economy down. But the government is at the end, they need inflation so they can inflate their way out of debt. Let me tell you how that works, guys. If the government can see 6% inflation for 4 years in a row, and they can peg the bond rate, which that's a whole nother story, but I'm just telling you guys this, the government has to have inflation. We cannot create GDP by getting people to come out here and work anymore, by getting people to create more goods and services. So what we can do, the goods and services that are in place, charge more for them. That way they're able to tax, instead of having a $22 trillion GDP, we have a $50 trillion GDP because everything costs more. The government's able to tax that 50 trillion at 30%, which is 15 trillion. Now, if you're 30 trillion in debt and you got 15 trillion a year coming in income, that's not so bad. That's like having a $1 million house payment, but now instead of you making 200,000 a year, you're making $500,000 a year. You can afford that house. It's not that bad. Government's the same way. They're a business. So 6% inflation for 4 years in a row, the government can wipe away 20% of the federal deficit that took them 50 years to create, guys. So that is why the government has to have inflation. And so I want you to get rich off of it. I want you to own real tangible assets. Real estate will go up in value as long as you are following the trends and know where to buy. Some good resources for that. You can look at U-Haul, as I mentioned earlier. You can look at the moving companies. Where are people moving out of and to? And then you want to say, why are they moving there? What jobs are there? Just like my family migrated to Kentucky, like the hills of Kentucky in 1812. Well, they came up here to Cincinnati and the surrounding areas in the 1930s and 1940s because there were jobs, automotive and railroad jobs. It's no different, guys. This is what caused almost every boom. You go back to California, 1849, San Francisco, there was a boom town because there's gold, jobs. You know, almost every city here was built off of some type of industry that exploded. Pittsburgh, you had the steel industry. New York, you had the financial sector. Every last one of them were basic jobs. There were a reason that people came there were for jobs. So follow the jobs and you will follow the increase in housing value. Sure, you hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, Nate Barger on YouTube, and hit the bell and you'll be notified on any new videos that come out.